Thank you very much for doing this. And Montell, let me go ahead and ask you the first question I ask everybody. Where were you born and raised?
Born and raised in Chicago.
And what was it like living there as a kid?
It was cool. I mean, I'd say probably the number one, negative thing probably about Chicago, I guess, the cold weather in the winter. But I mean, as a kid, I didn't have no problem with it. It bothered me the older I get. But Chicago was pretty cool. I had a pretty good and a fun upbringing.
What were you like as a kid growing up? Were you quiet? Were you shy? Were you outgoing? What were you like?
I was an agitator. I like to get under people's skin. I think I got it from my mother, but I was probably a terrible kid. I was probably a little asshole.
Were you guys all pretty close?
I mean, my father, my mother, they came to a point when I was growing up that my mother didn't want me to box anymore, so that was, kind of hard that she really wasn't supporting me no more like she used to, but she didn't want me to box, at a certain time in my life. So, my father, I was at the gym and training and everything, and I loved it. So my mother stopped coming to my fights. It kind of bothered me for a little while, but she said I had to get over it.
And what were you like as a student in school growing up?
To this day, I had pretty good grades, but I could have been better. I know I didn't. I think I just did enough just to get by. Yeah. I know I was smart enough. And my grades, I actually graduated 3.0 grade point average, but it could have been even better. I just did enough just to get by. Kind of lazy.
Were your parents strict with your grades in school or how you did in school?
Well, as long as I wasn't failing and as long as I got decent grades, I mean, my father threatened to not let me go fight in a tournament one time because I got in trouble at school. So, like I said, I always had decent grades. I never had no bad grades. I just know, since I'm, grown up now, I know I could have did better.
What were you like around other kids? Did you get in a lot of fights when you were growing up?
Yeah, I mean, I was like, I was a midget, so people found out that I boxed. I guess they wanted to try me. So, yeah, I got into a lot of fights. But I did pretty good for myself.
Were you always pretty good athletically in school? What other sports did you play?
Yeah, I love, to this day, football is actually my best sport. Basketball is my favorite sport, but probably one of my worst, probably because, my height and everything and my size. But I actually played baseball, Little League baseball, played basketball. I love football. And, I think I got more into football once my mother made me stop boxing. I was pretty good, pretty athletic.
How was it that you were the first time you walked into a gym? How did that happen?
Well, it's kind of crazy because it was like I was born into a gym, so it really wasn't nothing special. I just thought it was just everyday living. I didn't know what I was doing in the gym, so I was born in the gym, so it wasn't. I never really looked at it like it was special, and I just thought it was just everyday life. I didn't know nothing, to it.
Do you remember the first time you got in the ring to spar or to box with somebody else?
Well, I know I sparred a guy named Toney. I probably had to be about 7 or 8. He might have been my first sparring partner. I don't know. I was in the gym so young. I know I had my first fight when I was 5, so I don't remember the fight. I just remember the build-up to the fight. I just remember because I had a picture. I mean, his name was Lee Turner. I actually still see him to this day. It's kind of funny. A story I ain't going to get into, but I fought a guy named Lee Turner. We were both 5. I mean, they weren't official fights because official fights, they really don't keep count to your 10, but I had my first show fight when I was 5 years old. I don't remember the fight at all, but I remember the lead up, the build up to it. And I know we had took a picture in the ring together.
From what people told you or your dad told you, do you remember what they said about your performances in there?
Well, okay. I quit boxing when I was 12 years old. My father passed. I came back when I was 21. So all I know is that people said I was good. I really didn't really know if I was really good. I quit when I was 12. I came back when I was 21. And I just said I was going to give it a chance and see what happened. I heard that I was good as a kid, but I didn't know. I don't remember learning how to box. I don't remember nothing about nothing. Everything I did from 21 years old and older, I just did it by memory. I don't remember nothing. Like I said, taking off 8 years like that, it was kind of different for me. My life, kind of took a couple of steps backwards. Things just wasn't going like I wanted. And I had a nephew who lived in Los Angeles. He gave me a call one day and said, what you doing? I'm like, nothing. He said, you need to come out here and start boxing. I was like, all right. And he thought I was playing around because I agreed with him too soon. And I basically just made my mind to go. I sold my car that was broken down. I got a little money for it, bought me a plane ticket and moved to L.A. Like I said, when I went out there, I was 210 pounds. My last fight was at 112. So I just went to the gym, got in shape, took my time, and just seeing what happened, and just everything went my way. I ain't gonna say everything went my way. Things turned out good for me, but it just taught me a lot about life, and life ain't fair. But I just worked hard, and things ended up paying off for me. I don't know too many people who would say they made the Olympic team and only fighting for a year and a half. Only had 30 amateur fights when I made the Olympic team, so I know that's pretty good.
You were in the Olympic team of '92?
Yeah, I had my first fight January 1991. January 1992, I was number 1 in the United States in 1 year. I made the Olympic team that summer.
Well, what do you remember about Oscar De La Hoya?
Oscar was a nice kid. It's kind of funny. We all grown now. It's kind of funny because he was kind of quiet until he was drinking. And when he was drinking, then he was kind of loud and talk more. So, it was fun being around them guys. Chris Bird, Vernon Forrest, Oscar De La Hoya, Timmy Austin, all these guys. Shane Mosley, even though he wasn't on the team, he was alternate. And just being around these guys.
Do you remember a guy by the name of Pepe Riley?
Yeah, Pepe, he's my teammate. So, Pepe was real quiet. Pepe never talked. So, I never really got a chance to really, all those guys were stars to me already. I came from nowhere, so, I was looking up to them guys. I'm sure he had a long career. Like I said, I didn't start fighting in 91, so I don't know what was going on in 88, 89, 90. But I know he was real respected, when I moved to LA.
What was your amateur record?
I was 30-3. I can actually say that I should have been undefeated. The 3 losses that I received, I fought Jeremy Williams twice where I got robbed. And when I fought the German in the quarterfinals for the Olympics, I got robbed on national TV. So I really can actually say that I should have been undefeated. I just wish, I would have had the opportunity to get the gold medal that they took from me.
And what weight was Chris Bird fighting at that time?
Chris was fighting middleweight then, 165. It's kind of funny because Donnell Nicholson, me and Chris Bird was roommates in the Olympics. And it was 3 beds in the room, and we made him take the middle bed because he was the smallest guy. He ended up being the heavyweight champion of the world.
In your opinion, how important is it to have an extensive amateur career? Do you think it's important, or it doesn't really matter? It depends more on the individual?
I have to say it depends on the individual. I had 30 amateurs. I made it, so I think anybody else can make it. I just think if you got the heart, the determination, and the discipline, the desire, if you set your mind to do something, I think you can do it.
And at what point did you decide to go into the pros?
Well, of course, after making the Olympic team, I knew I was good enough to be a professional, and I just thought that my career was suited better for the pros and amateurs because the way I fought. I was short for my height, but I was real defensive. And, every fight I fought, I pretty much spotted every got 3 points, because I got cautioned for having my head low, for slipping punches. So I couldn't wait to turn pro. I just knew my style. I just knew I'd be a better pro than amateur.
And back then, when you were when you were in the amateurs about to turn pro, who were your favorite boxers to watch on TV?
Funny thing about it, like all the guys who knew me knew that, Pernell Whitaker and James Toney was my 2 favorite fighters. So it was kind of funny. I actually, when I got home from Barcelona, I went to Detroit to talk to James and Becky Callan about managing me. And, he was, the first day I met him, he knew who I was and spoke to me, and it blew my mind and made my day. And it's kind of crazy. And 3 years later, we ended up fighting each other.
And what do you remember about your pro debut?
My pro debut, I fought on Bernard Hopkins undercard. We got there real nice. We talked. I thought that was pretty nice. I fought in Denver. A friend of mine who my father trained, Ricky Muhammad, just tracked me down and found me and came to my hotel room. And that was fun to see him. I remember me and Stevie Johnson. We fought, on the same card, who was a big-time amateur and, a guy who I looked up to. The thing that I guess that made the biggest deal was me getting in the ring without a headgear. I think I couldn't believe how free I felt without that headgear. And, I fought a guy who, wasn't the greatest guy in the world. When I hit him, he went down. I was excited. But, I never really I never really made no big deal about fights. When you the guy who you're supposed to be. I never made no big deal about it. You know what I'm saying? So it was just, one step, going forward.
When you were going through the drapes that day to go to the ring, Do you remember what you were feeling? If you were nervous, if you were calm?
I just remember. No, I would never. I never been nervous for a fight. I mean, for some reason, I don't know. I think because I was in the gym so young that boxing was just like a walk in the park. It was just like drinking some water, or just breathing. It was never no big deal to me. I was always worried about my loved ones. I mean, I remember my ex-wife. I made sure I got eye contact with her and made sure she was cool and told her everything would be all right. But I never really, made no big deal about it. It never was no big deal to me. I never nervous and like that for no fight. That's why they end up.
And after that first fight and everything went your way, what were your professional goals thereafter?
I mean, the goal is always to fight for the world title. I mean, I tell people that I say it's four major goals in the boxer's career. I say to make the Olympic team. One is to win a world title. One is to fight for $1 million, and one is to be a Hall of Famer. So I did 3 of those 4. So if it's meant to me to make the Hall, and good. If not, okay. But I made 3 of my goals so far. So 3 out of the 4. So I'm pretty proud of what I did with myself.
And how was it that you got your nickname Ice?
A friend of mine, when I came home from Barcelona, he just started calling me all Ice. Everybody would say just how cool I was, and Eddie Futz just couldn't believe, with my ring experience and how many fights that I had, that I fought like I did under pressure. And he just said I was just so cool, like Ice, and it's just.
What was Eddie Futz like?
It was a great experience being around him, man. Just sitting there talking to him, asking him questions, just picking his brain, just talking about all kinds of things. It was fun too because him training Joe Frazier and me being around Muhammad Ali and him being my greatest fighter ever. It was just fun to go back and forth, with him about that.
And actually funny that you bring that up because, until you said Joe Frazier right now, you're very much like Joe Frazier as far as you being as short and compact as you were, and you were in a weight division where a lot of people are like really tall, but you being compact to the floor and being able to spring up and hit going upwards. I mean that kind of gave you a lot of the power advantage.
Right. Well, the funny thing about it, Larry Merchant made a comment on ESPN, on HBO when I was fighting. He said that Montell Griffin fights like a lamppost, but he's built like a fire hydrant. And it's funny because as a kid, watching Muhammad Ali, I learned how to fight as a tall man, not knowing that I wasn't going to be tall and being a midget, and but still end up fighting the same way.
What was your first tough fight? Let's say after your first dozen fights or so.
My first tough fight, I had to say, I actually fought 10 times the first year of my career. I don't remember having no tough fights, but I fought a guy from St. Louis named Ray Lathan, who was an amateur star and undefeated pro. He was 14-0 with 13 knockouts, and he hit harder. He hit me harder than any man who ever hit me in my career to this day. And that was the first big win, the toughest fight of my career. And I just want to say, may Ray Lathan rest in peace because he passed away. But that was probably my first tough fight.
What was it like fighting there in L.A.?
Well, it was perfect because I had lived in L.A. for 3 years, so it was just like I had just went home, went home to fight because, like I said, L.A. was like my second home. I lived there for 3 years. I actually, to this day, I hate that I moved back to Chicago. Probably should stay in L.A., but that's the past. But it was great to have an opportunity to fight in L.A. because I moved away in '93 and I went back in '94 to fight. I think it was '94. It might have been '95, but
yeah, it was in late '94.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it was cool going home because I had a lot of friends there.
Your first big fight, or at least TV wise, James Toney. What do you remember about that fight, and how do you remember getting that call that you were going to be fighting him?
I just fought Ray. James was fighting Roy Jones. Jackie Callan asked me to go to his hotel room and say hi to him. I was like, I really didn't want to. I said, okay. And, when we got there, she changed the whole story around and told James that I want to come up there and say hi to him, but I really didn't. And, he really wasn't, he really wasn't friendly with me. And I was kind of, at first because we had got along pretty good and wasn't friendly at all. I said hi and hurried up and left. And when Roy lost and they called me a few months after that to fight him, a friend of mine, Skipper Kelp, told me that James knew that day that he was going to fight you. That's probably why he was acting the way he was. So it was kind of crazy. Like I said, he was my idol. He was a legend. Toney had 13 pro fights. I think I had 14 pro fights. And a lot of people, I guess, was questioning, was I rushing or, going too fast. I think I remember my wife at the time even asked me, do I think I could beat him? And I just told everybody, look, I'm not worried. I know I'm going to beat him. Because I sparred him in 92 when he was a world champ. I was an amateur. And it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. I mean, I held my own. He couldn't do nothing to me. I knew, 3 years later, I didn't do nothing but get better, so I wasn't worried about fighting.
He was a pretty intimidating-looking guy. I mean, even back then. What was it like before the first bell, and when you're looking across the ring for him, right when the bell's about to ring? What were you thinking, or what were your thoughts at that point?
Well, I knew he couldn't use that intimidation factor like he used against a lot of other guys because we was friends. I spent time in his house. I stayed with him for like a week in Detroit, so. I really wasn't worried about that. And like I said, we had already been in the ring and sparred. I already had confidence in my ability, so I really wasn't worried about it. It wasn't no big deal to me. I mean, the crazy thing about it was when I looked up at the tail of the tape, I just, as a kid growing up watching HBO, looking at the tail of the tape of the two fighters, you get excited. You can't wait. The fighters gear come on and you can't wait. I looked up and I tell the tape and kind of lost it for a minute. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that's James Toney. And I had to tell myself to snap out of it. I said, come on, it's time to get to business. So that was kind of funny, but it wasn't no big deal to me. I mean, like I said, I never really got excited. I never got nervous. It just really wasn't no big deal. It was just business. Actually, I remember being in camp for that fight in Palm Springs. I was training. Rick Bowe was training for. Forgot who he was fighting, but I was there training also, and I told Theo Torrance, who was my trainer, I said, what's wrong with me? I said, I'm not excited. I'm not nervous. I'm like, it's not no big deal to me. He said, that's perfect. That's the best way to be. I couldn't even believe it. I had to ask him. I said, man, I'm not even excited. It was just like a normal fight, and I just couldn't believe it. And he told me, he said, don't worry about it. That's the best thing in the world, and that's how it was pretty much my whole career.
And actually, that might have been one of the reasons why you won, because who was it, Custom Model, that used to say, when an intimidator fails to intimidate, he himself becomes intimidated. And that's very true.
Of course, because he is a bully. If you bully a bully, just like you bully Mike Tyson, I mean, I know that's your favorite fighter, but when Mike Tyson couldn't bully you, when the guys who wasn't scared of Mike, the guys that beat him. And
that's Holyfield.
And then with James Toney, right? Holyfield wasn't scared of him. Buster Douglas wasn't scared of him. Lennox Lewis wasn't scared of him. They all beat him. And I wasn't intimidated with James Toney. And
at the decision, what did you feel? Did you feel confident that you were going to get the victory, or was it kind of like up in there, knowing that it was Vegas and that they could have probably took it for you because of politics and all that stuff? Were you pretty confident?
Well, after getting robbed of my gold medal, I pretty much knew that anything could happen. I thought I had won the fight. Did I think I was going to get a decision? I didn't know. The first scorecard, they called it a draw. So, I was like, well, I'm probably going to get the decision. So, when they announced my name, of course I was happy. And the whole stadium went up and roared, surprised me. They didn't have no doubt in their mind that I won that fight. So when I started hearing, that, he said he didn't think he lost, and they said it was controversial, I was like, where are they getting this from? I mean, I can tell you right now, do I think I'm 10 times better than James Toney? No. Back then, I just think I worked James Toney. I wasn't, a greater fighter than him at that time. I worked him. That's all. I just did more than he did. I just think I hustled him in that fight.
And did he come to you, or did you go to him to congratulate each other after the decision? And if so, were you guys words to each other?
We walked up to each other, and basically the first thing I told him, I was like, man, you're my favorite fighter, man. I was like, thank you for the opportunity. I said, I think I said, you're my favorite fighter. I said, I love you, man. You're my favorite fighter. He hugged me back, and that was it.
How was it that you decided to give him a rematch? Was it because you had that much respect for him and he was your favorite fighter and you felt he deserved it?
Well, really, basically, he was still the man. I didn't get no respect for that win. After that win, I got offered one television fight. I got hurt, had to pull out that, and I think I had 10 fights. He had 10 fights. He was still the man, and he called me, and actually, when they offered me the fight, they wanted me to make less money than him. And I told my manager, I was like, hell no, I'm not taking that fight. I said, if they pay me evenly, I'll fight him. But, I'm not going to agree to him making more money than me. And he told me, I'm going to call you right back. He called me back and said, they agreed, to the numbers, and, we did it again. But I knew that 1 year, it was basically almost like 2 years. I think we fought like early 94, and then we didn't fight a rematch till late. We fought early 95. And I don't think we fought the rematch till late 96. It was basically almost like 2 years, even though it was only a year in the calendar. And I knew I was a much, much better fighter.
Not only that, you stayed very active during those almost 2 years, like you said. You got every one of those fights that you fought between your two fights with him. You won every one by KO, and most of those by early KO.
My managers, I'm sure they, looked out for me, made sure they ain't overmatched me or whatever. They didn't want to mess it up. But I just wanted to beat whoever they put in the ring. I knew I was a much better fighter, and I just felt like I was disrespected. I never got the respect I deserved for going to that fight, even though I had beat him already. It was like he was the favorite. So I just wanted to make it no questions asked. I keep hearing that it was controversial again and everything, but on the judge's scorecard, it wasn't even close. I don't know what people was watching. People never gave me the credit for both fights against James Toney. Always saying he got robbed and it was controversial. But the funny thing about it is, I fought James Toney twice. It was 6 different judges, and not one judge ever voted for him. How did he want to fight? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I never saw it that way, but yeah, that's very true.
Not one judge voted for him.
That's true. And the first one was, of course, majority decision. One of them was a draw. The other 2 were for you.
Right.
Very close. The second one, one of the judges had you by 10 points.
Right. I outboxed the man. The man, I worked him, I outboxed him. It was clean shots, but, that's boxing. It is what it is.
And was he ever pissed off at you after that second one?
We had got into it, I think, at the press conference 2 days before the fight, and I punched him in the mouth, so he was kind of probably pissed off at me. After the fight, he looked at me kind of crazy, and I just told him, I said, look, man, I look up to you. I'm like, man, I done been in your house. I said, I don't got nothing negative, bad to say about you, and I just thought we should just be cool. And he looked at me and just said, yeah, everything cool, and he hugged me. And then since then, we've been cool.
You didn't hold back, man. You went ahead and fought the guy that was becoming the man, the guy that had just come up not too long before from super middleweight, and the man himself, the guy who considered pound for pound the best fighter in the world at that point, Roy Jones Jr. Who decided to do that? Was it Jones people deciding to push that to make him or give him that shot to become the light heavyweight champion?
I think HBO, with me and James fought, HBO wanted to make a James Toney Roy Jones too. But after I beat him, it was pretty much, that was probably the hottest fight out there at the time. So HBO called us and said, we're going to put this fight together instead. But, after I beat him, I was hot. I think I was like 1, 2, 3 on WBC, IBF, WA. So I was like one of the highest ranked fighters in the world. So after that fight, they went ahead and put it together.
And what was it like, or what was your reaction when you found out you were going to be fighting him? What was your personal reaction?
I remember I was in the mall with my wife, and I got the phone call from Panos Iliades, who was my promoter at the time, and I was ready. He said he was the best. I wanted to fight the best. I don't think I never dodged nobody. You look at my career, I fought everybody. The top fighters of my generation, of my era, I fought them all. You know what I'm saying? I beat 2 Hall of Famers. 2 guys that was rated the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. I beat both of them, who both don't go into the Hall of Fame. So, I don't think I never really got no credit for it, but, it is what it is.
What was your preparation for fighting someone like that? That was a total package. He had speed, he had movement. He had somewhat power. He had it all. What was your preparation like?
That's what I did. I sparred every fighter, every high point of his career, of his game. I sparred somebody like that. I sparred a guy who could punch. I sparred a guy who was fast. I sparred a guy who was athletic. I sparred a guy that featured everything that Roy Jones came with, that brought to the table. So I just knew I was ready. I went to the gym. I trained 8 weeks for the fight. In tip-top shape. I felt great.
And what was the lead up to that match? Was he respectful towards you, or was he kind of like a snobby?
Nah, he never said nothing negative about me, but at the press conference, they called both of our names. We was going up to the table. He walked up to me and spoke to me, and that's what I knew he respected me. When he walked up to me and spoke to me, I knew that he took me serious. He respected me, and I was in his head.
Halfway through the fight there with Roy, up until the 6th round or so, you look to be doing pretty damn well for yourself. I think some of the guys there, they were Larry Merchant especially, thought you were doing making a good account of yourself. When there was that slip/knockdown, it was pretty quick. Do you think that knockdown that happened there, or when you went down, was that a slip, or was that a or was that a punch?
Roy threw a punch and leg with me at the same time. So of course, officially I got hit, but it wasn't nothing on the punch. He leg with me, I fell. It wasn't no big deal. You could just tell when a fighter know he got somebody hurt. Now he got credit with a knockdown. Why did he come out and jump on me if he thought I was hurting? He knew he got a gift. So it is what it is. Like I tell everybody, if he didn't get credit for that knockdown, I'd have been winning on all three. No, I'd have been winning on 2 scorecards, and one would have been a draw because they had him winning by 2 points, 1 point, and me winning on the scorecards at the time. So if he didn't get credit for the 2 knockdowns, with that knockdown, I'd have been winning on 2 scorecards, and one would have been a draw. So he knew it wasn't no knockdown. Everybody knew it wasn't no knockdown. I wasn't hurt. It wasn't nothing. And I came back in the 8th round, and I think I had one of the best rounds of the fight. You know what I'm saying? And I got a little lazy, and instead of blocking the right hand, I tried to roll with it. And got caught in the back of the head, and got a little dizzy. So, I just told myself, I said, look, man, you winning this fight. I said, so look, go ahead, go just take a knee. I said, instead of just, trying to keep taking punches and take a chance of getting hurt or worse or getting knocked out, I just told myself, take a knee. I said, we got 3 more rounds to win this fight. I took the knee. I looked up to catch the referee's count. The man walked up to me and hit me with 2 dirty punches.
Because he did hit you after, and, of course, he gave it to you by DQ. Do you think if it wasn't for those 2 punches, the fight would have finished and you would have or went on to win the decision there?
I think so. He would have got credit with a knockdown, so it would have changed the scorecard a little bit. But I had them 3 rounds to try to suck it up and come back. But like I was more dizzy than hurt. I got hit in the back of the head, so I was a little dizzy. I was just waiting for it to wear off. But I would love to have seen what would have happened in that fight because I didn't want to win. I didn't want to win like that.
And while you were on a knee, it did look like you were trying to get your focus straight. You were trying to get your mind straight or your eyesight straight, like you're saying. What was running through your mind there at that second, of course, before the punches? Were you still okay?
The first punch, I was okay. I was trying to look at the referee and say, what the hell is going on? Second punch, he loaded up and caught me. And I even had people tell me, hey, I'm reading people that I was faking it. And I said, oh, my God, that's crazy. I could have got killed. This man walked up to me and loaded up and hit me with a shot I didn't see. So, that was crazy, but it was just, one of them things I just couldn't. I'm glad that I didn't lose consciousness. I didn't get knocked unconscious because I don't know what would happen with my career after that. But I was listening to the referee count. I heard everything. I heard him counting, but it was like I was paralyzed. I just couldn't move. And, by the time I got up, I was real upset because they basically counted me out. My brother told me, don't worry about it, that he heard commissioner say that they were going to disqualify him.
To give you the disqualification win, Roy's argument for any of his goers was, hey, the referee didn't come, push me away, so at any point he could have sprung up and hit me.
Yeah, but he didn't knock me down, though. I went out my way to give myself more room so I wouldn't be that close to him. I took a step back to take the knee, so, anything.
What would you say to those people that, and I'm sure you heard a lot of it after your fight was over? There was a lot of people who were saying you were faking it. What would you say to them?
It is. It is. Let me walk up to anybody who not paying no attention and hit them and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? It is. They Roy Jones fans, and they making excuses for the man because he was the champ, because he was pound for pound or whatever. Roy Jones apologized to me about 4 or 5 times, but when he went on TV, he would change his story. But, like I said, I'm not going to worry about that. It's over.
Did you get a lot of that, though? Was there a lot of people that were...
I mean, I read a lot of negative stuff. I actually stopped reading boxing magazines, and I stopped even getting all this stuff because I was just tired of reading about negative stuff. People, front me off or put me down because I got hit illegally. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I could have died. I could have got hurt, and it's funny that they only look at that part, but it is what it is, though.
What made you go ahead and take that rematch right away thereafter?
It was really my lawyer, my manager, my promoter pushed me into the rematch. I mean, I didn't have no problem fighting Roy. I just wanted the money to be a certain amount. I didn't get paid or offered what I wanted, so I was thinking about fighting somebody else. My trainer wanted me to fight somebody else, but my promoter pushed me into it. The WBC pushed me into it. Of course, if I had it all over to do it again, I wouldn't have went right back and fought the rematch because the way everything played out, HBO needed the man to win so bad because they put so much money into him that whatever they could do to get him an edge or advantage, they did that fight. So, I mean, you live and learn.
With all your experience and knowledge that you have of the game or that you had of the game at that point, do you think if you would have fought, let's say, other fights between your 2 fights, do you think the rematch would have made more money or less money?
Of course, more money. Because no matter what Roy did, I was on the man that beat him. It wasn't no fluke. I was really beating the man. It wasn't like he just caught me or, he was just beating me down and something happened. I was in the fight. I was winning the fight. So, people had respect me for what I did. But, like I said, you live and learn. Things happen. If I had all over to do it again, I would handle things differently. But it is what it is. I mean, I just got to live with, how things, take them how they are.
For that second fight, did you find a lot of mistakes as far as what he was doing wrong where you could improve to?
I was more prepared than I had ever been in my career. For every sparring partner I had for that fight, I hurt him. I cut one of them lip open. I knocked down the other one. I hurt the other. I was an animal for that fight. I trained. I figured, okay, 8 weeks, I did this. I said, this fight I'm going to train 10 so I could be a little bit better. I was prepared better than I ever been prepared for any fight in my career. I just couldn't wait to be fight the man. Things just go my way. So I didn't warm up 5 minutes for that fight. HBO came in, changed the time of the fight, didn't tell me I was a world champ. Changed the whole time of the fight, didn't tell me. I went in there cold, got hit, and lost. And that's basically what it is. I ain't making no excuses. It just is what it is. I didn't warm up for a fight. And I was stupid enough to go even out. And I hated that my manager and my promoter didn't fight for me more.
Do you think he was taking money off the other side to be doing some of the weird decisions that he was doing?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Oh, well, Lennox Lewis actually pulled me to the side and told me I need to watch what's going on because he said the man robbed me. So I know he probably robbing you. And I think Lennox ended up winning like a $7 million lawsuit against Panos. So, I found out the man was cheating me. But, it is what it is.
That fight happened. It was a 1-round knockout. First punch of the match or the fight, he lands that hook. You go against the ropes. It's considered a knockdown. Was your mind still straight, or
I just couldn't believe. I mean, when he hit me, it didn't even hurt me. And when I lost balance, I was thinking, what the hell is going on? I mean, my body and my mind just wasn't focusing. It wasn't. My body and mind weren't on the same level yet. When you warm up for a fight, it's just a ritual I didn't do my whole career. The biggest fight of my career, and I didn't get a chance to do it. And it just, like I said, he caught me with a shot. That really didn't even hurt me. And my legs went out from under me. I don't know what the hell is wrong. But, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, so much stuff happened that I couldn't, the deck was stacked against me. I could win that fight. I remember Chris Bird told me that Roy Jones' lawyer even told him that it was a shame how they did Montell. So they did him so wrong for that fight. But, that's the past. And so I ain't the first person that been, did wrong in boxing. Funny thing about it was Chris Bird made a comment that he noticed during the fight. He said the commissioner had signed your gloves when you got in the ring. So something wasn't right. They said they knew something wasn't right because the commissioner going to do that in the back. You know what I'm saying? When you're ready for a fight, you warmed up, you getting prepared. Before you warm up, you tie your gloves on, commissioner sign your gloves. And he said, when I seen him doing that in the ring before the fight, he said, I knew someone right. And, you know, it is what it is. Take nothing away from nobody.
And after that second fight, with 10 being the highest, how would you rate Roy Jones' speed and power?
Oh, he's the fastest man I ever been in the ring with, without a question. I sparred. This is no disrespect. Floyd Mayweather, who one of the greatest fighters ever in history, but I sparred Floyd Mayweather, and the comparison, it ain't no comparison. I mean, Roy was just fast as I just couldn't believe the speed. And you know, of course now with the steroids and all that stuff coming out, then it kind of take some of the zest off of it. Maybe I lost a little respect from him, but just he was a freak of nature. But like I said, after I heard about him failing steroid test, then it kind of made everybody look at him a little bit different.
And how about the power?
Roy's punches was just stinging. It really wasn't powerful punches. He was just so fast. I think James Toney hit harder than Roy. I think, of course, Ray Lathan hit harder than Roy. The guy Babe, who was the heavyweight champion, light heavyweight champion, fought in Kazakhstan, he hit harder than Roy. But Roy just so fast. Like I said, you get hit with a punch you don't see. And like I said, my body wasn't prepared. It hurt me. I mean, if you ever watch that fight, now the punch looked devastating, but it didn't hurt me when he hit me. It was just, it was a nice shot. When I landed on the floor, I just shook my head because I can't even believe that I even.
Your arms, you picked yourself right up, but it looked like when you tried to get up, that's where you were having the problems. Right. Your legs were
out. I wasn't even hurt. I wasn't confused. I wasn't dazed. Damn shame.
Like you said, your legs went out from under you.
Right. My legs wasn't. My mind and my legs weren't together. I mean, my mind and my body weren't on the same page. I shook my head, tried to get up and continue to fight, and then my legs just wasn't there, and I lost.
That particular fight, which was you're considered to be your biggest fights there with the guy that was a man. How did the 3 F's respond to that, which are your fans, your family, your friends?
You're always find out who your real friends are when bad things happen to you, because you got people who on a bandwagon and and they jump off once you lose. So it taught me a lot about who about life and who was really there for me, who wasn't. So, I mean, what I did, I just took it in stride. I didn't like hide or go into hiding or, be embarrassed. And I went out and acted my normal self. So somebody had something to say, said, to my face, which of course nobody did. But, of course I heard, people saying, stuff behind my back. But it wasn't nothing. I mean, it's life. When I won 27 fights, I didn't, want to commit suicide, so there wasn't no reason for me to do that after I lost. So, I went through a little bit of depression. I was a little embarrassed, but it just had to move forward. I couldn't, like I said, I was just so mad at the situation because I know I could take a punch. I know I shouldn't have lost like that, but, it is what it is.
And after that fight, you did the right thing. You didn't just go hide in the cave. You fought a few months later, and you fought pretty frequently thereafter, trying to pick yourself up.
Vince Dorn was a real tough guy. Actually, I fought Vince Dorn my first fight after Roy, who was a real decent, respectable fighter. I thought I picked a great opponent to come off a fight like that. I actually was Vince Dorn's sparring partner in '91 when I was in the amateur, so I felt it was like a move going forward, and I beat him.
You won several fights after that, and then you got to Derrick Harmon, who was considered to be a pretty tough individual. What do you remember about that fight?
Me and my wife had just had a falling out about me cheating on her when I went to camp, and my mind went in that fight. I was supposed to be fighting Derrick Harmon. I didn't know nothing about Derrick Harmon. I was training for Derrick Harmon, and they changed Derrick Harmon the week of the fight. And the only reason I went to Miami to fight that fight is because I didn't want to go home and feel like the wrath of my wife. And, not taking nothing away from I know I won the fight. I still, to this day, I know I won the fight. But probably if I was 100% in my mind, I would dominate the fight a little bit more. But, everybody to this day still call me and tell me and talk to me about. It's a damn shame how they robbed me. The man ran like a girl for 12 rounds. The announcers on TV had me winning about 6 or 7 points on every scorecard. I don't remember getting hit with a clean punch in 12 rounds. Like I said, I just took the fight because I knew I could beat him, and I didn't want to go home. But, I took the fight. I won the fight. The announcers had me winning the fight, and they gave it to him. So, what I could do about it. So, it was what it was.
You said after your loss with Roy, you went through a depression. What do you consider to be depression?
Like I said, I was a little embarrassed, a little just up down on myself. I knew I was, a great fighter. I knew put like this. I know I had everything that it took to be a great fighter. Have I ever been on that level? Have I been looked upon like that? I've never been a household name, but I knew I had everything that it took, and I just felt like I just couldn't catch a break. Things never could go my way, so it just made me just feel bad about it.
But you pretty much fought everybody that there was to fight in light heavy at that time, which was. And
I didn't get an ounce of respect for it.
Yeah, that is freaking weird. I mean, I think the only name I don't remember seeing or you fighting, and correct me if I'm wrong, is Virgil Hill, which was a big name back then.
Virgil Hill was the only big name I didn't fight. Well, Virgil Hill, Mike McCallum.
You went ahead and fought the guy you were supposed to fight earlier that you spoke of is Derrick Harmon. You fought him in about 2002, and then you even fought George Khalid Jones, who they were starting to blow up a little bit. You beat both of them.
I beat both of them. Got right back on target. But the funny thing about it was me and my wife actually had separated. I got everything back on track. And then we got back together, and then our career fell apart again. The George Jones fight, we got back together and just felt the negativity. And I didn't dominate like I should have. And fought Tarver. And it didn't look good because, like I said, I don't think my mind was just really where it should have been.
And in your opinion, you being shorter than most of these light heavyweights, was that a positive or a negative?
I mean, of course it was a negative, but I just tried to make the best out of the situation. I mean, if I was 6 feet tall, 6'1", 6'2", I think I'd been heavyweight champion of the world. I think I'd been one of the greatest fighters ever. But I just did what I could do with what I had. I was 5'7", and I had to deal with fighting all guys that was bigger and taller than me, and I love boxing. I showed the world. I showed all my friends and my fans, family, members of myself that I'm not finished. I'm not done. But I just think it's at the point where probably time to just move on. Just say forget it. I haven't got no phone calls. I haven't got no offers. So I guess it's just over with.
And knowing Roy Jones, how he's done in the last few fights that he's had, and knowing he's probably still willing to fight, if that ever sparked up and they wanted to throw you guys back in the ring for one last hurrah, would you be willing to? And what would it depend on?
Oh, that's the only fight that, no question, I would take. I mean, this man, threw my career off track. It's not a question. If I got an opportunity to fight Roy Jones, I'd take it, which we've been trying to get a fight with Roy for 10 years, and he wouldn't take a fight. He even told me in his face how many times he'd fight me, and never, can't do on his word. So I'm sure that's probably not going to happen.
And if you were looking at all your friends and fans and family in the face, and you wanted to let them know how you wanted to be remembered boxing-wise, how would that be, or what would you tell them?
Just tell them that regardless of all the bad breaks I had in my career, I just gave my all and tried my best. I never took my light and not trained, not been prepared. I was prepared for every fight. I tried to be one of the greatest fighters of all time. I know I was blessed with the ability, but because of the bad breaks, I just never got to be in that situation.
Thank you very much for doing this, Montell. Thank you for all the times of excitement. Thank you for all the fights you gave us. Thank you for all the smiles and memories. And thank you for just being yourself.
No problem. I appreciate it.